This week on Trekking Tuesday, we're going to be studying for a test. So get out your number 2 pencils and get ready to take some notes. Just kidding. We're going to be learning about different terms that are common in the trucking world. This week we're going to be talking about the drivers themselves and some of the terms related to driving a commercial vehicle. So settle in, get something to take a few notes just in case you don't know what an IC or IFTA are, and get ready to learn something fun this week on Trekking Tuesday. Hi everyone, I'm Jen, and this week on Trekking Tuesday we're going to be talking about common terms that are related to the drivers in driving commercial vehicles. The first one we're going to start with is IC or independent contractor, and this is someone, in relation to at least my company, is someone who works for another person who carries their own authority and MC number, who will be responsible for the insurance of the cargo that they're carrying and the tractor itself, along with the driver's insurance. These people are paid by whoever owns the truck, and then they will contract with usually a larger carrier, such as the company I work for, to get loads, and they are paid either percentage or per mile. One of the reasons that companies like mine like to work with ICs is typically these are very motivated people who want to work. They have a lot of drivers that they need to cover, and they have drivers that are motivated and ready to go. They usually have very limited restrictions as to where they do and don't want to go, and a lot of them tend to save the company money in terms of insurance because the owners will carry the insurance except for the trailer, which we carry. The next one I like to talk about is a lease driver. There's a couple different kinds of lease drivers in the trucking world. There's lease to own, and there's a walkaway lease. At my company, we have a walkaway lease, which means you get treated as if you own the truck and you're buying the truck, but you can walk away from the lease at any time. The benefit of having a walkaway lease versus leasing the truck to own is you'll constantly get newer equipment, and you get all the benefits of being treated like an owner. At my company, we pay for all preventative maintenance. We help you with IFTA if you want. We'll help you with any major repairs to set you up in a maintenance account. So if you have a major repair that you have to pay for, such as an at-fault accident, we can help you set up payment plans to pay that off. You are responsible, at least at my company, for the fuel. You're responsible for any accidents, and you are responsible for your insurance. The next type of driver would be a company driver, and these are typically per mile drivers. Lease drivers like ICs and owner operators can choose how they want to be paid, at least at most carriers, including my own. They can either be paid a percentage or they can be paid per mile. Most companies, like my own, company drivers get paid per mile. Company drivers are a huge asset. They are drivers that typically have to go wherever they are assigned to go. My company doesn't do forced dispatch, so if there's places you're really uncomfortable or unhappy going, we won't make you go there. But typically, company drivers will be the ones that will do all of your regular customer freight that isn't necessarily very high paying in terms of overall, which is what your percentage drivers don't want. They want the high paying loads. And company drivers, like I said, can tend to be the ones that you have do things that you wouldn't want an independent contractor or an owner operator or lease operator just wouldn't be interested in doing, such as moving trailers to set up for a new customer, recovering trucks, things like that. And then there are the owner operators in the business, and these are people who own their own truck. Sometimes they own their own trailer, and they will work with a company such as my own to obtain freight, but they're completely in charge of their own business. They usually handle their own IFTA, they usually handle their own bookings, things like that, unless they're associated with a larger carrier like the one I work for. A CDL. This is a term that you've probably heard before. This is a commercial driver's license, and it is required to operate a single vehicle with a gross weight over 26,001 pounds or more, and or towing a vehicle gross vehicle weight over 10,000 pounds, like a trailer. At least that's what the requirements here are in Missouri. In Missouri, There's a test of 50 general knowledge questions, 25 air brake, 25 combo vehicles, requires a physical exam as well as training school that is EDL compliant. And EDL is your electronic logs. Most schools are 8 to 16 weeks. There's some variation in between, but you'll usually do some classroom training and then you'll get out on the road with a trainer and get your driving skills under your belt, and they'll also teach you what you need to know for the test. CDLs typically last 2 to 3 years, your physical exam the same way. You need to have a CDL in your home state. So what's an ELD? So let's start with that when we talk about driving terms. ELDs is your electronic logging device, and that's what keeps your driver's hours of service. Typically, it's like a tablet or a pad that is attached inside the truck cab that's also connected to the engine by some type of wiring that will notify the device when the truck is moving. And then there's different statuses such as driving, personal convenience, off-duty, sleeper, yard move, and all of those can be manually inputted by the driver. Drivers are not allowed to tamper with the devices nor change anything on them illegally. A lot of them are locked down so that only the carriers can make changes if needed. Most ELDs are regulated by whoever owns the carrier. So if the carrier is based in Missouri, the ELD's logbooks are going to be based in Missouri and in Central Time. Even independent contractors and owner-operators are required to have ELDs in their trucks now based on law. If you have more questions about this, I'll link the video at the end of this one on hours of service. The scale house. So these are checkpoints along major highways that are in every state across the United States where loads and drivers are checked for legal weight and where DOT official officers can check for safety and regulatory features on trucks and trailers. Nowadays, most drivers have a device in their truck and they run by different names, but it'll be a small device attached to the windshield, and as drivers approach a scale house, you'll see those big things that look kind of like traffic lights hanging over, and I'll put a picture up, hanging over the highway, and these will interact with these devices and they'll know the most recent time a driver has scaled and when the last time they've been pulled into a scale house. Drivers are typically required to scale their loads when they pick them up, and these have to be on certified scales. The biggest one in the country is CAT scales, and all of this information is kept electronically. So drivers will occasionally be pulled into an open scale house, have to verify the weights of their load, and then possibly if there's a DOT officer on site, which usually there is, they'll pull them in for an inspection of safety and occasionally look at their logbooks. IFTA. This is a big one that people have a lot of questions about. It stands for Inter-Motion Fuel Tax Agreement. And this is between the lower 48 United States and provinces in Canada, basically to simplify the reporting of fuel for purposes of carriers who operate in more than one logistical location. So if you are a carrier that's based in Missouri and you operate outside of any other state of Missouri, you have to use IFTA. And IFTA is basically every driver's worst tax nightmare. There's a lot of taxes, especially if you're an owner-operator or an independent contractor owner or even a lease driver, that you have to keep track of. You have to keep track of your fuel expenses in general. And part of that is keeping track of your IFTA. And basically it breaks down the tax for sales of gas in each location that you operate in. And this is important because each state requires you to balance out the amount of tax that you're paying on your fuel per state based on the amount of time that you are driving in that state. A lot of bigger carriers have accounting divisions that are dedicated to processing IFTA for drivers. My carrier does. It's an option for all of our lease drivers since they are treated like owners, and any owner ops and ICs that sign on with us also have the option to work with the accounting to have their IFTA paperwork filed for them. If you choose not to, you have to keep every single gas receipt and keep a very detailed log of everywhere that you go. You can be audited for IFTA very easily, and if you cannot prove that you fueled equally, you can be significantly fined. There's also a required IFTA sticker that has to be current by year that has to be placed on your cab at all times. So that's a very big one. Next big one, as far as legality, would be the DOT, or Department of Transportation. This in the United States is the governing body of motor vehicle traffic and drivers themselves. So police officers typically have been trained with DOT regulations so they can pull over a commercial vehicle in their area, and they can do what is called a DOT inspection. There's different levels of inspection, and I'll go into details of those in another video, but essentially what they're looking for is any safety violations or potential safety violations on the truck or trailer, such as a flat tire, a DOT bumper, so the bumper on the back of the trailer if it's bent or about to fall off, which could happen if a driver's been hit in a parking lot accident, which are very common. Also, they look for hours of service violations, so they will ask to download your logs electronically, and they will review the last 7 days of logs. DOT officers also get involved if there's a major accident, and they're involved in the accident reporting process and any violations that are found during that accident. Last thing that we're going to cover today, so last bit of notes guys, almost there, is pre and post trips, and this relates directly to DOT. Pre and post trips are in-depth checks for safety and working order of truck and trailer. These must be done per DOT law, which includes a walk around of the vehicles, the engine compartment, engine startup and in-cab check, the lights on both vehicle, tractor and trailer, and a vehicle overview of tractor and trailer turn signals and brake tests. So all of these must be done at least twice a day, hence pre-trip, post-trip. Good drivers will do them multiple times, such as if they stop for fuel or to take their break. They'll do a quick walk around. They won't do as in-depth of a check, but they will do a quick check, because you could pick up a nail in a tire, or you could have something go wrong. Things happen out on the road. A rock can come up and strike the trailer or the back window of your tractor. Windshields get cracked anytime. So constant safety checks are the best way, A, to prevent any problems, and B, to prevent issues with DOT. So guys, that's a quick overview of some common terms related directly to drivers themselves. And next week we'll be covering some terms related to loads, freight transportation, etc. So thanks so much for being here. If you're interested in this topic, or you're a commercial driver, I'd love to hear more from you. Please feel free to reach me at my email, fracturedchristian@gmail.com, and I'll see you guys again next week for another episode. Have a great day and stay safe out there.